Hi, in this video I want to talk about how packages are used in Java to organize code, and then how import statements can help you access that code. So our objectives in this video are to understand why packages are used, and then to see the syntax involved in accessing methods from maybe the same class, from a class in the same package, or other packages altogether. So packages are basically Java's implementation of a general programming concept called namespaces. And a namespace is an organizational tool, and the goal of using a namespace is to prevent identifier conflicts. For example, two variables or methods with the same name. We actually have some idea of this in the real world. So for example, I'm David. There's other Davids out there like David Letterman, and the way we resolve conflicts between that name David is we use a last name, sort of the namespace. So David Johnson uses the Johnson namespace, and David Letterman uses the Letterman namespace. And the David inside each of those namespaces is its own unique thing. So packages determine the folder structure of compiled files in Java. And in fact, so here I have a package Lec8a inside a project that's inside a source folder, and I just want to go grab something that shows that on my computer. So here I have my Eclipse workspace. Here's the project, the CS1410, and there is a source folder, and then there is a Lecture8 folder that corresponds to the Lecture8 package, and inside there is the capital L Lecture8.java class file, or code file. Now there's this bin directory here, and the bin directory also has the Lecture8 folder for the package, and it has the compiled Lecture8 class file inside there. So we, again, normally mostly look at the source files. Java is going to be looking at the compiled class files when it runs programs. All right, let's get that out of the way. But the thing to remember essentially is that you can see sort of this nested structure here, but it corresponds to something on your computer. And in fact, you can add packages inside packages and get multiple layers like that. And here I have an example of a package that's inclass.lecture10, and so there's a folder for inclass and a folder for lecture10. Now, there's a concept called the fully qualified name, and basically it's an unambiguous name that completely specifies where some particular class or method is. In other words, what's the different packages you have to go through to find this. So for example, there is the java.util.arrays fully qualified name. Arrays is a class that is inside a util package, and that package is inside a Java package. So we can use that name to access this arrays class from wherever we are else in code. But sometimes it gets a little awkward. So for example, let me just make an array, I guess, real quick. And we'll just, 1, 2, 3. Put some spacing in there. 1, 2, 3. So I'm initializing this array with 3 values. And if I want to print that out, if you try to print it out, well, let's just do it first, I guess. Okay, so I'll print it out. And if I print out numbers and run this, I get this kind of funny looking thing. This is related to the reference that numbers hold. So again, remember, any variable that is of an object type, like array or string or something like that, doesn't hold these data directly. It holds a reference to where that is in the computer, and this basically says something about where that's located in the computer. But it's not very useful for us when we want to look at it. So I can use this Java util arrays toString. So inside the arrays class, there's a toString method, and I'm going to wrap numbers in that, send it to that method, and then print out whatever comes out. So a string comes back from this, and I'm going to print it. Let me just make it smaller for a minute here while we're playing around with that. Okay, now we can see it. And if I run this, it prints out 1, 2, 3 in like a text representation. So that's pretty nice, but that's a pretty long looking thing to call and to write out every time. And so the alternate of doing that is to use an import statement that says, hey, look here for this class, and then when we want to use it, let me just give an example here. So I'm going to say, I know there's an arrays class out there that has a toString method, and I'm going to send numbers to it. And right now, it's complaining that it doesn't know where this thing is. And one of the quick fixes, so I hovered over it in Eclipse here, and I picked import arrays. And so up here it says import Java util arrays. In other words, I'm going to tell you where this arrays class is. It's here. I'm going to do that once at the top of the file. And typically, any imports happen between the package statement and any other code you have. And once I do that, I can use it a little more directly than I did before. So both of them print out. So here's sort of the long, fully qualified form. And this one is just the class name and then the method name. And the import basically gives the packages we have to go through to get to it. And this is the more common style. Basically, this gets very awkward to read. And so people typically will import in the class they need and then use the class and its method to call it. Sometimes you do need the fully qualified name. If there's two conflicting versions and you want to specify which one you want to use, then you have to use the fully qualified name. Okay, so let's make a method. Hi, no parameters, and all I'm going to do in here is print out hi. How do I get access to this method? Well, if I'm in the same class, it's very simple. We've been doing it already, right? You just say hi. And without any other information, Java says, okay, what else is in this class? Here's hi. I'm going to call it. And so if you run that, you get hi. So in your own class, just call it. If it's in the same package, so I'm going to make a, I can't actually see what I'm clicking on there. We are now in this Lec8a package and Lec8a.java. I'm going to add a new class and just call this other, I guess. Sure, why not? Add main. And in here, I want to get to the Lec8 hi method. So the question is, how do I do that? If I just say hi, it complains, and the quick fix is bad, which just says make a method that does this. I need to say, first of all, what class this is in, Lec8 dot notation, and then say call that method. So I need to say use the hi method that belongs to the Lec8 class, and if I'm in the same package, that's all I need to do. So that's fine. Okay, so easy enough. Now the harder thing, although not that hard, is if you're in another package. So I'm going to go to this default package, and maybe I'm just going to randomly pick some last lecture thing. Let's see what we got here. Multiples of 5. Okay, and so this is in a different package. I'm going to comment this out so we don't get too confused with all the output that happens. And let's say I want to call hi from here, right? So first of all, hi doesn't exist. Can I just say Lec8.hi? It doesn't know about Lec8 because that's in a different package. Now it is saying, hey, you can import it from, it searches around the project basically and tries to find it. So rather than me typing, I'm going to use this quick fix. This is like one of the few places like to do quick fixes is to import stuff. So I import Lec8. And up high here now, there is this import, and this is the package name, Lec8, and this is the class name, Lec8. And I can run it by giving the class name dot the method, Lec8, and I get hi. Okay, so that's all I have to remember. We're used to doing it in our own class. You just get the name. Once projects get a little bigger, we're going to have maybe multiple files in the same package, and then you give the class name dot method name, and that's all you need. You don't need an import in that case. If you're not in the same package, like your project has gotten quite a bit bigger, or you're using someone else's code or some system code, you typically have to import in through the package names, however many there are, and then the class name, and then you can use it through the class name and the method name. And typically when we're doing like Java stuff that's already existing, like this arrays thing, arrays to string, that's where we're gonna see a lot of the imports for now. Okay, so that's really it. I just want you to be aware as you're working with more and more both built-in Java stuff and more code that we're writing, you're going to be using these import statements a little more, and you need to be aware of those variations. Thanks.